and I don't think any other platform can do it so well. So it's not just about providing infrastructure or laws, it's then understanding how young people can interact with them and leverage them correctly. And I think this is where mentoring role models play a tremendous part. And that is the apex.
Sorry. I have to introduce Dr. Shah Jahan. I'm sorry about that. Dr. Shah Jahan is professor with the School of Social Work at Tata Institute of Social Sciences. He is the chairperson of the Center for Community Organization and Development Fact.
A very good morning to all of you, and particularly this chief guest of the day, Mr. Rahul Bose, who is equally known in the social sector, probably as equally as in the film. Further, being a very, very good sports enthusiast, I think we could not have got a better person to be a chief guest for this event. Mr. Matthew Spacey, the brain and energy behind Magic Bus, all the work which Magic Bus is doing, and probably known not only in India but across the globe, is the ideas and energy which he infuses into this. Professor Vasanthi, the co-host of this event, Ms. Deepa Krishnan, a well-known entrepreneur and educator, Mr. Jayendra Stogi, other dignitaries, Bharat. So I'm really privileged to be here in front of you to represent the Tata Institute of Social Sciences for this extremely interesting, innovative program called Maiden Summit. I think the values, the practices and the ideas of sports, when it is converged with the actions for development, I don't think there can be a better way of combination of things which can significantly transform the lives of people whom we are trying to address, the young of this country.
Dr. Vasanthi has experience of over 24 years in the field of teaching and is also a rigorous researcher. She has published over 35 papers in various national and international journals and has been chairperson of Ad Hoc Board of Studies of Physical Education and Academic Council member at the University of Bombay from 2009 to 2012. Her subject specialization includes research methodology,
Thank you very much for the great applause. All of you on this fine December morning. The speakers before me have already shared such beautiful words of welcome that I need not say anything at all. But because we find ourselves in the presence of such exciting personalities, I will do so. It is my privilege to welcome our chief guest, Mr. Rahul Bose, and our special guest, Ms. Deepa Krishnan, and other dignitaries on the dais and off the dais, and my dear students and faculty of Department of Physical Education, University of Mumbai, to this 2016 Maiden Summit on converging educational and livelihood spaces through scalable innovations, organized by Magic Bus Organization of India and University of Mumbai as one of the knowledge partners on 13th and 14th December 2016. I feel fortunate to be invited to this summit in the capacity of Head of the Department of Physical Education, University of Mumbai. I would like to brief about University of Mumbai, which has established in 18th July 1857, almost 159 years ago.
I'm going to talk a little bit about that. He's described as the Indian art house icon by Time magazine and won the Best Actor award at the Singapore Film Festival in 2000 for his performance in Split Wide Open. In 2002 at the Palm Springs campaigns from gender justice to the education of children. In 2009, he was voted the Indian Youth Icon of the Year, Social Justice. In 2010 by the Maharana of Mewar Foundation. In 2014, he was named on the prestigious Executive Council of the Union Ministry of Home Affairs' National Foundation for Communal Harmony.
Thank you for that fulsome and very embarrassing introduction. No, Satyajit Ray didn't speak at his own memorial lecture. That would have been a feat in supernatural with Sean Bennigan. The good thing about sitting and listening to people talk for 1 hour, 10 minutes is that you get to watch everybody in the audience. And I really envy a few people who have been sleeping so soundly. You come out of the sun, come into a nice, cool, dark room, comfortable chair, silence, which you don't get much in this country, and also in this city, and then this very pleasant drone. You require something in the background, whether it's the news, whether it's the radio, whether it's your grandmother cooking in the kitchen, the occasional whistle of the pressure cooker, or one of us speaking. I've seen, and I'm looking at all of you now, right? People who have just been sleeping so beautifully. Occasionally the mouth opens, then it shuts again. Then you realize, oh, you're somewhere. Then you pretend that you're awake, and then slowly you're again hypnotized. And you just can't. You want to stay awake and you can't, and you're being dragged down into this beautiful abyss of sleep. So please let me not disturb you. I promise not to raise my voice. I promise not to be too interesting. I'll just keep this tone the whole way through, and I hope you can catch another 80 or 120 winks. So it's a privilege being here, not because everybody says it's a privilege being here, but because it's a privilege to have Matthew as my friend. Matthew and I played rugby together in 92, I think, 92, 24 years ago. 98. And yes, there were those kids from Fashion Street who used to come and wash our cars when we parked at the Warmajam Ghana Club. And they were literally this high. I remember Raju was this high, and I think Anil was even smaller. And at the time, 5 rupees was a princely amount, I suppose. So I used to give them $5 only because it wasn't about the car; it was about the kids. And then I think the greatest testament to what Matthew set out to do was, if Raju was 11, 12 at the time, 10 years later, or maybe 8 years later when he was 19, and he was now playing for the Magic Bus team. Magicians? Yeah. The Magic Bus team at the Bombay Gym. And at the time he used to call me Saab, Gadi Dhona hai Saab. And 8 years later he tackled me on the field and said, Rahul, are you okay? And I said, see, it's not about, it's very, 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 very difficult to genuinely believe in equality. We all love to discriminate. We all love hierarchies. It's always nice to know that you're somewhere on the top of some ridiculous, obscure pile, left-handed, vegetarian, atheist. Yeah, I'm there. But to actually believe in equality, where a boy who used to clean your car can thump you, and the first thing you want to get up and say is, what the f? And then you, of course, never do that with anybody, but then you look at this boy and you say to yourself, clear-eyed, strong, confident, unapologetic, and committed to being excellent at what he's doing. And that, now, if he's going to take your place in the Indian team, how are you going to feel about that? So, I just want to put it out there because I really, it's a privilege, Matt. You're just unfun. You're a lovely human being. You're a lovely man. And 400,000 kids are in safe hands. So I thought I'll do something that no one's done today, which is talk about the connection between sport and what it teaches you in life to move ahead. These are all personal lessons, so they might be stupendously boring, but I have to cater to the sleeping segment also. If any of you know anything about rugby, it's this game with an odd-shaped ball, and it's a game that's very physical. So even somebody who's watched it for 5 minutes will realize that It's intensely physical, and there's an intense amount of physical pressure every moment of the game. In this sport, there are 15 people playing 15 people. I'll wait for you, ma'am. You can finish. I'll wait for you. It's okay. I really will wait for you. Don't be apologetic. If it's important, take it. I'm not joking. Please. The guy must be saying, hello, hello, hello. You put the phone down in your lap. You can finish it. It's not a problem. We all live in the real world. Please, if you have a hassle, please get onto the phone and please finish your work. It's such an intensely physical sport that what happens is, to survive in the sport, you divide the game into 15 channels. And each person has a channel to look after. Literally. Geographically. That's how you map it. So, you have to look after your channel, and nobody else is going to do that for you. And if you think you can survive this sport doing your own thing while everybody else is looking after their channel, you will die. There's no lesser way to put it. You can actually die. And there have been many times in my early years of my career when, out of arrogance and athleticism, I thought I could go anywhere and do anything. And I've often faced grievous injury 2 feet away from me, till a body comes hurling himself between me and mad pain. And it's one of my teammates who's saving my ass at the last moment. So the first thing that this sport taught me was, in life you can do nothing alone. If you think you've done something alone, you are an absolute fool. Because you got up and you ate food cooked by someone. You got up and you put on the shower and the water had been purified by someone for you to bathe in. There's nothing that we do alone in this world. And if there's any sport that teaches you that up front in your face, it's rugby. You learn, well, there'll be many more lessons, so just hang on. You have to. In a team, and I played for India for 11 years, but prior to that, I've been playing rugby for 34 years. I've been playing sport every single day of my life since I was 4. I represented school in 11 sports. Not about how great I am. Sport is my life. I can watch transfixed in near orgasmic joy a game of chess on TV. Golf, and I'll be chewing my nails off in excitement. That's who I am when it comes to sport. I also understand what it takes, and I hear all these commentators talking about sport and about what it's like. I'm like, you don't know what it's like. Unless you play for the country and you cross that white line, you have no clue what it's like to represent your nation. You have absolutely no idea where. It's like, I think somebody said, Alistair Cook said yesterday, nothing prepares you for England captaincy till you become England captain. It's true. Nothing prepares you to be a national and international sports person till you cross that white line. For example, did you know when you cross that white line, you lose your name? You lose your name for the next 15 days in the tournament, you lose your name. Because every single referee says, India 13, come here, don't do that again. You finish the game and you go for dinner and they say, India, table number 8 and 9. You go in the morning for practice and they say, India, ground number 3. You just don't have a name. You are only known as India. And although 6 people and a dog might know that India has a rugby team, as far as these 5,000 people are concerned in that meet in Singapore, you're India. So if you're gonna start fondling masseuses and you're gonna start stealing bathroom fixtures, that's what India's going to be known for. So you absolutely have to understand that that's the responsibility that no one prepares you for. That here, and I'm not trying to be nationalistic or jingoistic. It's just when you cross that white line, something else happens. Okay. Yeah. So when I used to lose playing squash as a young teenager, I used to kick my squash racket about 3/4 of a kilometer till I would get to where the car was, and I would make sure the squash racket broke. And I would break a squash racket every week. And when I played rugby and I began to understand what the game was all about, I also understood one thing very clearly. That you can do your best, and that's all you can do. winning and losing is not in your hands. And so every true sports person has understood the Gita's philosophy of being a karma yogi. Winning and losing is not in your hands. Your job is just to do. You have to get there and do. And I'll of course refine that in the sporting field. Say, anything you do in life, you just have to do your best. But once you do your best, let it go. Let it go, and wherever it lands in this universe is something that's not in your hands. It will relieve you of so much stress. Where all you have to do is to focus on being as perfect as you can be in that job. And the rest of it, don't sweat the small stuff. A similar lesson which happened to us every evening was one day you are there and the next day you are there, even amongst your teammates. We played well against Guam and the top table of all the stars in the team, and you were invited to come and have dinner there. And you slipped 2 tackles against the Philippines and you ate alone or maybe with the 2 reserves who never get a game anyway. That's the way it is. You know, sports persons are very cut and dried. They don't like the smell of failure. They don't like to be depressed. They want to hang with people who are successful. So this is another flip side of the whole do your best and let the chips fall where they may, which is the day you're on top, you can be sure that 2 days later you're going to be eating with the reserves. And that's just the way it's going to be. And so all you can do is to always, no matter what you do, is focus on how you can get better, how you can improve, and that's the best you can do. There's a thick line between ambition and desire. Ambition says, if I do this, I'll get here. And desire says, I'll do this because I really want to do it. And there is nothing, no purchase to be gained from ambition. And many, many people, most everyone I know, mistakes and mixes the two up. Ambition is very different from desire. So if I do this film and then I get that award and then I'll get that film, and then of course, then I'll be present to the world. Versus, I just want to do this movie because I love this role and I love the director. Because 5 times out of 10, the movie won't even release. After that, if it releases, will anybody see it if it's released on 26/11? After that, and one of my movies was, and it ran for about 10 minutes. After that, even if it does get released and has people coming to see it, will people like it? So by the time you get down to where you think your ambition will take you, you've already played a losing game. Whereas desire is what sport teaches us. Today I will play my best and I will just do it because I love it. I cannot do it thinking if I do this, I'll get there, I'll get there. There is no tomorrow. It is today and it's that game. Never be afraid to do something on your own if you know it's the best, in the best interests of the team. So I remember once we were in KL, we were playing a tournament and it was a tough game and we had 2 days off. And everybody normally would just mope around the hotel room, getting depressed, and that whole depression thing would start catching, and then the blackboard session would go off badly and the next day's practice would be everybody snapping at each other. So I just decided to speak to the hotel, get a young guide who would take us around the city in a bus. And KL is a great place to see. So and it was like, come on, Bose, what are you getting us into a bus and going? I'm like, listen, let's just go, let's just see, we can get off somewhere and then we can just come back. But we did the whole thing. Even if the wonderful architecture and the fantastic scenery, went over their heads, what happened was in that bus, we began to just be friends again. We began to talk, we began to just break the ice, we began to crack our normal, extremely cruel, incredibly politically incorrect jokes about each other, which I really cannot even repeat even to myself because NGO Rahul will commit suicide just listening to those jokes. So that's what happened in those 2 or 3 hours. I was never afraid to make a move on the field that wasn't discussed in the blackboard session. Because if I found there was an opening, I was going to take it. Because ultimately that's what you want to do. You want to keep moving the team forward. This is easy stuff. I've always been disciplined, but I've seen some very, very indisciplined guys on the team become very disciplined as they began to play more and more often for India. Because if you don't get to the bus at 7:29, you don't play the game. You get there at 7:31 and you're off the bus. You're off the team. your 5 hours a day of practice for the last 14 weeks, zitch, it doesn't matter who you are, you're off the team. So if you don't wear the team t-shirt when you come down for dinner, you will not eat. You will be sent back upstairs. No one's paying for room service. So it's that idea of discipline because you know that it is going to lead to something beautiful. Not just because somebody is doing this because they have a hammer over your head. I've written here, channel your anger to focus. So there was a certain thing that we used to do, which was, I don't know whether Matt maybe Matt doesn't remember this, but we used to, against Kazakhstan we did it, and people were wondering what the hell we were doing. This was our first test match in Bombay, and we lined up at the center line before the game. And the Kazakhis all looked like Rasputin, 6.5 feet to 7.5 feet tall. They had iron filings for teeth. None of them had cut their hair in 2 or 3 centuries. They just looked like they were going to get the ball, swallow it, and then take you, rip you apart, and use your intestines as floss. So there you were, opposite these guys, and you knew that rabies was definite. Anything else, was going to be worse. So you stood on the center line. All of us had decided to stand on the center line, and because you play in channels, we stood there and I went, "That's my man, I got him. That's 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 my man, I got him." And this 7-foot guy on the other side would look at this 5'6" guy going, "That's my man, I got him." He's like, who's that? Like, who's this creature? But gradually, he began to understand that this was an insane person. That this is a person who had no rationale. So now, when he began to engage with us, there was an element of doubt. That maybe this guy is a young cannibal. Maybe he's a small, ferocious, feral animal from somewhere else. Who knows, And so it was like, so you immediately planted a seed of doubt in that person. So just taking your anger, or in this case, cold fear, and just focusing it into something that could take you somewhere. And sometimes it's smoke and mirrors. But we played our greatest game against Kazakhstan. They were rated, we were ranked at the time, I think, 91 or 92 out of 109 countries playing rugby, and they were rated 53, and that's a huge gap. And we, in the 80-minute game, we led them till the last 5 minutes. And because so many of us were so concussed at the end of it, we lost 32, I think 27 or something. But we were leading 27-24 till the last 5 minutes. It was an extraordinary game. I still remember the game because I got smashed and I had to have 23 stitches after that game. But it was just a, that's my man, I got you. That's my man, I got him. It was so anyway, so fear and anger. We all feel that. We all feel it all the time. We have to find the right channel for it. So this is something no Indian is going to understand, not even me, but I'm going to try. What happens is when our hearts get hot, our heads get hot. Straight up. Or when our heads get hot, our heart gets hot. I prefer the former. I mean, just a simple thing like a little scrape in traffic, and before you know it, you are cursing that person's ancestors, you are challenging them to come here, and that you will burn them alive just with your eyes, like some yogi or something. It just goes crazy, escalates into this point where you're shaking, and you picked up stones, and next thing you know, so. Whereas the greatest sports persons in our country, the hotter their heart gets, the cooler their head gets. Abhinav Bindra, Vishy Anand, Sachin, Geet Sethi, across all sport. The idea is that, and it has to be a trained response, is the hotter your heart gets, the more you have the passion, the anger, the desire to do something increases in ferocity, the cooler your head gets. So you can just see exactly what's going on at that moment, and nobody is going to be prepared for what's going to emerge from here. And that combination in any field of life, try this once when you feel you're getting angry, just take a step back, feel the reason for your anger, keep that seated here, but just make sure that your head remains very clear, and you'll be amazed, you'll just feel like superhero. Finally, all the horoscopes, all the amulets, all the threads, all the superstitions matter nothing. So if anybody in this room, and I'm an atheist, but that's fine, you can believe in God. But if anybody in this room believes putting your left sock over your right sock, or using this thread, or because my mother waved 3 burnt leaves over my head, if any of that you think works, please try and play sport day to day, every day. And you'll realize that sooner or later, everyone, oh, this is working for me till, God, how did that happen? Kind of thing. Nothing works. Except humility, hard work, and to try and harness as much talent as you have and use it every day of your life. I'm going to end with something that I always say in schools where I'm talking to parents, not children. Because as long as we have this feudal approach to sport, whereby, बेटे तुमने एग्जाम में अच्छा किया चलो जाओ आधे घंटे के लिए बैडमिंटन खेलो वैसे नहीं तुम you got a D grade जो भी है यहाँ पे बैठो पढ़ाई करो. So sport is like a little dessert given at the end of the main course of studies. As long as we treat it like that, we're going to get nowhere. But if there has to be hope for people to start a sporting culture, I can never talk to parents and tell them things like, come on, your child will play for India one day. You can't do that, right? So I try something which is devious and slightly criminal, but I try it all the same. I tell them that, ठीक है, मैं मानता हूँ कि आप कहते हो कि academics सबसे अहम चीज़ है आपके बच्चों के लिए, ठीक है. I understand. Academics is the most important thing. Marks, they cannot live. My child cannot be fed by his rugby shoes. I get it. Why should your child play sport? One, it's going to help your child immensely in her or his studies, because sport helps you to increase your power of concentration. So you concentrate more fiercely if you play a sport. Second, be proud. To be proud and to do things correctly. If somebody's treated you badly, you don't go and try and slaughter their pets at home or anything like that. You just say, okay, this is what happened. The world will never treat you fairly most of the time. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to become so good that you shame the world into treating you well. Thanks.
The problem with someone who speaks this well at the end of a panel is that you have to come on up. Thank you. And Professor Shahjahan, Mr. Bhaskar Singh, Ms. Deepa Krishnan, whom I've kept calling Deepa as if we are Chatterjee, and Professor Vasan B.